Alright guys, welcome back. Part 3 here of our programming kind of series. Hopefully this one will not go as long-winded as the other two. So if you watch those other two all the way through, congrats. That's a little bit of a long process. I think it's just partly because I've not talked through these all the way before. So we're going to go ahead and add accessory work. So we've built all of our warm-ups, we've built our main movements, we've done our needs analysis. And so we're going to go ahead and go through some of the accessory work that we are going to tackle. Okay, so we're going to go ahead, we're going to edit. So like I said, increasing, really trying to increase the bench press a little bit. So we've had some higher intensities here. Back squat had some less high intensities there, but really trying to emphasize getting those movements going. But we need to keep tendons and joints healthy. We want to keep mobility up and really trying to emphasize some of the things that are going to increase some of those movements. So we're going to go into kind of our hypertrophy work, and I noted in the original video, which if you go back and watch, in the original video what you may have seen is that really trying to increase tendon health. So we're actually going to add several different exercises in here, probably about 4, but they're going to end up being in 2 supersets because we want to move a little extra volume in the pattern that we have already gone in with the bench press with some slight variation, and then we want to obviously then increase some of the tendon health. So you're going to see a lot of high reps. One of the things that we look at is getting into a little bit of muscular endurance, but increasing tendon health and going through a point where the tendon takes some of the load a little bit from the muscles. And so just trying to develop some, like I said, just trying to work on tendon health. I know I've talked for an hour now because I've done these 3 straight videos. So let's just dive in because we've got our pressing pattern, and I think that's something that we can build extra strength in, but we can also really stick into some good movement patterns, wanting to keep some of those mobility movements going. So I don't actually want to get stuck in just a bench press, right? I want a little extra range, but I really want those pecs to be really healthy, and we want those triceps to be healthy. So we're going to break that into 2 different exercises to focus on. So one of them is going to be a little bit smaller. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to go do a dumbbell fly, right? And we're not going to go super heavy set. Also, I don't know who this dude is, but he is in a lot of YouTube videos that got linked to exercises. And he's always shirtless. Like, good on you, dude. Way to have confidence to throw yourself on the internet like that. I guess when you're shredded, you have that confidence. But if you thick, then probably not. Okay, that's fine. So we've had our bench press, so we're basically just really targeting the pecs here. Squat, we're going to go a little bit more quad focus on this one, right? Obviously we still want extension, but we want to keep some of that stability, and we're going to go with a skater squat. It's basically a single leg squat, so you have variations that you can do with this. A lot of people like to do rear foot elevated split squats, regular split squats, things like that. I like the skater squat. It doesn't have to be loaded up super heavy, and we're going to do about 12 reps here because being a body weight movement, this one can get a little bit more intense. And actually I'm going to leave the weight thing on here because if we can, add weight however, right? The video shows the single leg variation done with kettlebell front rack position. I just want really controlled movement here, and essentially we're doing, it's almost like a rear foot elevated split squat without the rear foot elevated because you're just holding it off the ground. So we're gonna go 2 by 12 there. That's gonna kind of get some volume in that squatting pattern, but increasing the stability demands of the movement. Okay, so we've got that. Now we're really going to impact, wow, my word choice, guys, is just declining as we do these videos. Targeting the triceps, right? So I really like a dumbbell tricep extension. Some people call them dumbbell kickbacks, but we're gonna go really high rep. He's doing a prone one. That's a good movement. I like that one. But going 20 reps. Maybe they do have dumbbell kickback. I've always just dumbbell kickback. No, they don't have dumbbell kickbacks. Okay, well, we'll stick with the tricep extensions. They're nice. But 2x20, high reps, trying to work on the elbow health here. Our pec fly is more of our chest and pec health and shoulder. Our tricep extension is going to be more tricep elbow. So making sure that we've got that squared away. Going in, then we're going to try to add some health to the quads and the knees. And so we're just going to do a knee extension. And like I said, we're going to do, wow, it really doesn't have knee extension in here. Cool. Great. So we're going to go ahead and add a new exercise, train heroic apparently. Knee extension, right? A lot of times you see this as a weight machine. I don't have a knee extension machine. I have a way to do knee extensions though, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do it. Knee extensions. That's also something you got to think about in your programming, is being able to understand what equipment you have available. 20 reps. Wow, I don't want weight here. Okay. So that's going to conclude our accessory programming here, right? So basically what we've looked at, pecs are major movers, quads and hip extension, just trying to add some volume into some of these ranges of motion. The more volume we can accumulate, the better the tendon health is going to be, the better that muscle tissue quality is going to be. So we want those movements in there. And like I said, integrating more volume into those movement patterns that aren't going to totally trash the joints that heavy loading might, right? So a little bit more multi-joint or bigger joint movements, followed by some smaller jointed movements to really work in some of those isolated ranges. Okay, so we're gonna go to our next day. We've got our power snatches in here; those are good. Deadlifts, and so we're really going to target the deadlift a little bit more, but we're going to target it in a way that we have to think about what's being moved in the deadlift, right? So lats obviously stabilize the lower spine, or the lumbar spine. It starts with an L. Okay. I like rowing movements because they really get the lats in that horizontal plane that that a deadlift kind of exists in, but I don't want to tax the lumbar spine any more than I really have to with this movement. Okay, so I really like chest supported rowing variations, and so we're gonna go for it. This is one of those things, we can go high reps on this, we can go low reps on this. Like I said, for the sake of our kind of tendon health here, we're going 2x20. So this is going to be lighter weight, higher rep, but really emphasizing contracting the lats. I like a bench too with the chest supported row, because you can really almost wrap your shoulder blades around it and really get some of those smaller muscles moving. You can get your rhomboids going, you can get subscap going, things like that. We can really go through a fuller range of motion for some healthy shoulders, but also increasing tension through the lats and a greater range through the lats is going to help stabilize the lumbar spine for squats. So we've got our we got our chest supported rows in there, and then we kind of want one for the lower body, and we're going to go ahead and hit the hamstrings pretty heavily. Now ability wise, this is going to make some things tough. So glute ham raises, right? We got hamstrings moving through hip extension here. We've got hamstrings moving through knee extension here, or knee flexion. And that's one of the things you have to think about with the hamstrings, is they cross two different joints and they need to be healthy in each. Now this is a more complex movement. It's a little bit harder. And so we are going to go through and just do, wow, I don't even know if I could do 12 reps, to be honest, right? But we're going to go for 10 reps. Nice hamstring exercise. It's one of those things that's, like I said, we're looking at the hips in extended position, going through and targeting kind of knee flexion abilities of the hamstring to make sure that they stay healthy. So we've got that. Now, obviously, this is going to be a little bit higher volume day, so I don't want to go super crazy, but bicep health, right? The long head of the bicep tendon is really integral in doing snatches, especially when you get to that overhead mobility. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to hit some hammer curls in here. And so there we go, and we're just going to go 2 by 20 here, okay? Like I said, the hammer curl, especially when we go cross body, and I'm even going to make that note in here just so I remember and anybody else wants to, being able to tackle in that long head of the bicep tendon, even especially when you get into mixed grip deadlifts, right? You can place some stressors on the biceps tendon, and so making sure we've got that moving, especially that long head. All right, and then last little thing, the glute ham raise is a pretty intense movement, so I don't think we really need to hammer that down any. So we're going to go ahead and see if we can get a little bit more, a little bit extra core stability in that movement, right? So we're going to go right back to some, let's do this. Actually, now that I'm looking at this, I kind of like the following thing a little bit better. We're going to change up some order here. And guys, this is the nice thing about programming, right? Like, there is no exact science, right? You can throw movements in there, but you got to look at fatigue, things that are going to cause more fatigue, some core stability here through a suitcase carry, right? This is one of those things that I think is one of those more beneficial things. Carries can be great for adding strength. They're great for adding stability, and we're going to go for a little bit longer distance in this, right? We're trying to increase that tendon health and a little even muscular endurance. We're going to go for 60 yards. That is a long way to carry something in one hand, so it's going to be a little bit lighter, but it's going to allow us to kind of work through really stabilizing the spine. Like I said, we want transfer over to that deadlift, being able to have those things moving. If we even wanted to add a carry into other days of the week, right, we can look at different variations of that. But suitcase carry, very simple, really works effectively. And like I said, not a super exact science with programming, right? We make educated guesses, and obviously this is based off of me. I know a little bit more of my needs. I don't want this video to go the full 30 minutes like the other two have, so I'm trying to rush through this a little bit. But we're able to change up the order a little bit because these are a little bit more isolative, single joint movements. So we have upper body, we have some core work, but then we've got some lower body work and then some more upper body work to really round it out. Again, skipping Wednesday, so we have a rest day on Wednesday. Going back to power clean, power jerk, bench press again, right? So we're going to actually target in some of the overhead mobility of the power jerk, but then also trying to create that shoulder stability and that pressing strength. So we're actually going to do, what we call a Z press, right? And it is not listed in here with dumbbells, so we're going to make that note in the thing. I always do this with dumbbells, to be honest, because you can get a little bit of, you can move the scaps just a little bit better, in my opinion, because your hands aren't locked in. And I think for most people, you get a little bit of extra range of motion. So dumbbells is going to be kind of our mark. Again, we're going high repage. I like the high reps because it's going to, one, we get a ton of volume in, and it's really working on kind of the way that those tendons interact with the muscle. And I personally just feel really good with high rep stuff too. So guys, some of this is also, like I said, know your body. Like I said, this program is being written for me, so if we can understand kind of what the target is. Other things, right? So we've got our Z press, and we can really hit the upper body a bit more on these days. So I'm going to go ahead and actually put in, like I said, we had neutral grip pull-ups in there. We're going to go with some chin-ups this week, right? And that's the nice thing. We're working in the vertical plane here. Wow, I just said vertical plane. I call it vertical. It's easier to understand, right? So we won't get super scientific about planes of motion, also just because my brain is fried now. I don't want 20 reps, I want 15. I also know that I can't do more than 15 reps at a time. Okay, so we've got our Z press, we've got our chin-ups. These are 2 upper body movements. They're going to be a little challenging. We don't want to fry ourselves today because we have to look at what's going to happen tomorrow. We know that tomorrow we're going to get moving, and we've got some heavy back squats. So we don't really need to fry ourselves tomorrow. Now, things we got to think about now that we're looking at the next day, right? So what can we add to this back squat that's going to complement really well? Okay, we have talked about, we've kind of talked about some of the, like, integrating in those nice patterns, being able to understand that we need to basically increase our overall overall volume in some of these movements, and I like a good quad pump. It's nice. I've been doing some rear foot elevated split squats already. Been doing some heels elevated split squats with the safety bar, but for our sake here, I think a goblet squat works really, really nicely, especially because we're going to go in that heavier rep, right? So we have goblet squat, and like I said, we're going in those 20 rep ranges, so it's going to get a little heavy. It's just a nice, like I said, it's a nice thing to be able to have moving with us. Lats, this is another one that, you know, we want to think about, but we have to look at not frying our lats for tomorrow, right? We got our lats a little bit with a chest supported row earlier in the week, and so avoiding, and then we got with the chin-ups. So while the lats stabilize the lumbar spine, we might want to avoid frying them anymore, okay? So let's look at some other things that we could throw in here. Major things that happen in the back squat. We have our knee extension, right? We're going to get a lot of that squatting pattern volume again. This is actually a very good point. With the back squat, right? Being able to go through some of that hip extension again, but not in a way that's going to fry us for deadlifts the next day. Reverse hypers, I find, are not super taxing on my own body. I do like them for some kind of, where to go, reverse hyperextension. There it is. Okay. I really like these for really just distracting the lower back a little bit. So if we can actually distract the lower back, and almost try to get some traction in there to help alleviate any pressure that we built up, in this back squat. Because remember, we got a deadlift tomorrow, and that's going to be the tough thing. So we're going to go through 2 sets of 20, and we'll add how much weight we got there, and that's all we're going to do. Pretty short, pretty sweet, works great. Now, here's the nice thing about Saturdays, right? So we're going on to Saturday. We've got our bench press, we've got our deadlift. Chances are going to be training at the barbell club just because I like the environment for some of these heavier deadlifts. And if I really want to get some things in, I can, you know, they've got some great machines over there that I can work in and kind of tag in on. So I can add a little extra volume because I know that Saturdays I tend to eat a little bit more, so I get a calorie surplus to help recover. I also tend to sleep a little bit more on Saturday nights, and then Sunday I get off and I just lounge around and do absolutely nothing because that's just the way I like to rest. So gonna look at some things that we can do. We're gonna add in one heavier accessory, right? Because we're gonna have a little extra time, we've got a little extra recovery. I really like good mornings. I really like RDLs, but I also think that Single leg work is one of the best things we can do for joint health and actual health. So we're going to do single leg RDLs. Wow, there it is. Notice we did these in, I believe we did these in the warm-up, right? Did these in the warm-up. It's fine because we're just going through the same movement pattern. And what we're going to do is we're going to do 4x5, okay? And it's just going to say loaded up, right? Barbell. It's one of those things we can do that is going to get us into that nice pattern. Barbell is spelled with 2 L's, not 3. But especially when we can load up some of these movements and really impact kind of our strength through the system. The posterior chain is one of those things that we've got to train it under some fatigue a little bit, at least in my opinion, in order to move through and build up some strength. So especially when we get towards meet time, you're going to see this volume decrease. But we're kind of in this pre-competitive cycle and focusing on some of that competitive strength. Now we've got some space again to go into some regular hypertrophy work. And so we've got a little bit more of that higher rep stuff to do. Bench press wise, the chest press is nice. We did a Z press earlier. We're actually going to go through and we're going to do an incline dumbbell bench. And I think it's one of those things that if we look at it, it's not quite the Z press that we did. There's incline dumbbell bench press. Okay. Now benches obviously go to a bunch of different angles. I want 45 degrees here. And we want to keep things, like I said, we're still fairly light here and just high repage, high volume, and being able to kind of integrate some of those things into our training and more like kind of grooving that bench press movement pattern. We're going to drop the volume down later in the actual competition prep cycle, and so we've got that movement there. It's not totally like the Z press. I'm like all over the place now, guys. Wow, I'm getting like super distracted because I'm thinking about different things that I can do. If I said all of it, you probably think I'm crazy, but we've got our incline dumbbell bench. It's not quite the same as our Z press. It's not quite the same as our, not quite the same as like a regular dumbbell bench or a pec fly that we did earlier in the week. Okay, so we got our dumbbell bench. Now let's look at doing, let's do a lower body movement, just as something a little high rep. We can go back and get, like this is more hip extension. I know that I have the availability to do some ham curls. Whoa, that is not what I wanted. Hamstring curl. Clear filters. Oh, where's prone? Prone machine hamstring curl. There we go. Okay. Same thing. We're going to do 2 sets of 20. That is still on time. There we go. 20 reps. Right. I know if I train at the barbell club, I've got this, and I can also make this modification in my gym if I end up training at my gym on Saturday that day. So we've got those two. Really, that's all we need. These deadlifts are going to be a bit more intense. Bench press is going to be more intense. We don't need to totally fry because we'll add some volume next week. So that's kind of the basics of the accessory work that I pick. I don't like to pick tons and tons of exercises, right? And like I said, we're kind of in this volume accumulation phase and really working on concentric work. So if we look at total number of exercises, and we're going to go back to the calendar, the heaviest day we see of number of exercises, we have, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Oh wait, that's not even the right day. There we go. All right, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 exercises, right? That's a pretty volume heavy day. And that's going to be the biggest day we have is Monday. All right. It's one of those things when we really look at it. There's so many ways that programming and accessories can go, and it really depends on knowing the body, specifically for you, or if you're a coach, understanding the body of your athlete that you're training. being able to understand what's working in the function of a muscle, kind of the movement planes, and then also where we need to understand mobility exercise-wise. It's kind of hard to explain as you go through it, because obviously there's things that are going on in my head that I'm thinking about. It's hard to see behind a screen because you don't see. If I program here, I'm also thinking about the specific machines that I'm going to use, the dumbbells I'm going to use, how am I going to load these exercises up, and it's going to be different for each individual based on the gym they're at, right? Same thing here. I know that I have GHDs, I know I have dumbbells, suitcase, so these movements don't have to be super complex. A lot of times people give you these complex accessory exercises. These are very basic. If you really look at them, very simple movements. Training doesn't need to be super complex, right? And that's part of the reason why I'm making these videos. Like, you kind of hear me stumbling over my words and hear me stumbling over like how I'm selecting some of these exercises. There is no set single way to program. There's no set single way to get the result, right? There's so many different pathways we can take. And I think that's the hard part people get with programming, is they want to throw everything in. I get that. Like I said, you hear me stumbling because my mind is going all over the place. There's so many things we could do, but what is going to give us the bang for a buck? And if you notice, it's very simple, very basic. Basics work. They're called the basics for a reason. And if we can actually stick to them, we end up getting a pretty good result. So that's just a little bit. That's part 3 of our little programming series. I might do another one of these at the whiteboard that seems to be a little bit better and a little bit more organized. I'm just kind of spitballing these ones today. But hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully that helps you out, get a little bit behind some of the programming process. And next time we do any of these videos, hopefully we get some extra value out of that. So thanks for watching.